Hey fight fans, it's John Pollock and this is Fight News Now Extra with John Ramdian and Robin Black coming up to break down today's news. We're going to discuss the state of Glory kickboxing with a number of contracts up. Javier Mendez provides an update on the heavyweight champion, and Michael Bisping and Luke Rockhold don't spare any words ahead of their bout in Australia next week. A media call promoting the UFC's return to Australia next week saw middleweights Michael Bisping and Luke Rockhold go at it for over a half an hour. The two have been pushing for this fight for a long time, stemming from a training session the two had, with Bisping bragging about how it went afterwards on television. Here is a highlight from the conference call as Bisping shares his feelings on the AKA fighter.
Well, allow me to shed some light on that situation, because Luke, I'm not sure if he's aware of this. This is a f***ing conference call, so you're supposed to talk and try and be a little bit eloquent and get your side of the story over. Luke, I don't know you. I don't care for you. We haven't shared a single proper conversation, so you're basing your facts, or what you presume as facts, on absolute nothing, on fresh air. We have had one conversation of the sparring match in question that everybody talks about. You don't know me. You don't know me as a person, so kiss my f***ing ass, you lanky piece of shit. I'll see you in Australia, you dog. We'll put it all to bed then.
Wonderful stuff. It was a week ago that heavyweight champion Cain Velasquez had to pull out of his bout with Fabricio Werdum at UFC 180 with a sprain of his MCL and partial meniscus tear. He underwent surgery last Thursday, and AKA head coach Javier Mendez was on the MMA Hour this past Tuesday and stated that the damage was worse than anticipated once the surgeons opened up the knee, and thus his timetable is unknown after an original target of fighting next March. 3 major contracts have come due for the Glory promotion, with the deals of light heavyweight champion Gokhan Saki, Joe Schilling, and Tyrone Spong coming to an end and not being renewed by the promotion. Schilling is signed to fight Melvin Manhoff for Bellator next month, while Spong is nursing a nasty leg break suffered earlier this year, and Saki is simply waiting. Glory is scheduled to hold a show on November the 7th. And we're here with John Ramdian and Robin Black. Lots of stuff to discuss. Michael Bisping finds himself in a grudge bout here with Luke Rockhold. This is really off kilter for one Michael Bisping as he gets set. I think this guy, he's got the game figured out. It doesn't matter how many fights this guy loses. He will always be someone that you can slot into a main event on Fight Pass, support on a pay-per-view. People want to see this guy fight because he makes people care about the fight. And this fight with Luke Rockhold, this is no gain for Luke Rockhold, who many think could get a title fight right now. And instead, he's fighting Michael Bisping, who is not going to make him any higher in the middleweight division. But this might be the biggest card Fight Pass has ever hosted. I'm sure they're going to get a ton of signups for this particular card because of this grudge bout. And Michael Bisping, say what you will about the guy, brings interest to a fight, and this is the latest example.
Yeah, you don't have to sell me. Michael Bisping, in my opinion, one of the absolute best in the business when it comes to selling fights, when it comes to creating controversy, creating interest. But the best thing about Michael Bisping, he never lets any of that stuff overshadow the fact that he is still one of the best fighters on the planet. He always comes in shape. He has awesome combinations. He pushes a pace that very few people can match. I mean, except for Tim Kennedy in their last fight. But I think for Luke Rockhold, he believes he's one of the best in the world, and the way to prove that he deserves the title shot is go out and kick Michael Bisping's ass. I don't know if he's going to be able to do that, but if you go out and have a great performance, showcase your diversity, showcase your athleticism, I think people will jump onto the Luke Rockhold bandwagon.
Yeah, and the best at it, the guys who are really, truly great at it do it because it makes them money, it entertains the audience, but it's art of war. They get in the head of their opponent. They create scenarios in which their opponent is either too aggressive, and I mean, Bisping was even talking about that. He's like, if I get under his skin, he starts talking about knocking me out in the first round. He gets too aggressive and I catch him. Then he says that, and the guy goes, well, I don't want to get too aggressive. He's right. I don't want to, maybe they start too tentative. Once you get in that, it's real. That is real. People don't necessarily see how real that. Conor McGregor is doing it on a level that other guys aren't. And just think how much fun you could have if Nick Diaz finishes his fight with Anderson Silva, win or lose, he goes, Bisping, where you at? You know, like how much fun would that be?
Yes, exactly.
The internet might just explode if that call-out were to happen. Michael Bisping and Nick Diaz
at 185,
building up a fight together.
Ridiculous.
We move over now to the heavyweight division. Cain Velasquez was originally hopeful of fighting in March. Now Javier Mendez on the MMA Hour saying the knee was much worse once they actually got in there. It makes you wonder, not to say Cain Velasquez is not going to realize a certain potential. There's some who might already think he's the greatest heavyweight of all time, but is there a certain level that we just might not see Cain ever reach because of his own body and the way that this guy trains. I mean, these sparring sessions at AKA, legendary amongst these fighters, of just how physical Kane is and what he puts his body through. I mean, is he shortchanging himself? The guy is 32 at this point, not the youngest heavyweight in the game, but at the same time, this is the prime of his career, and I just feel at the end of it, injuries might play a real big factor when you look back at this guy's legacy.
Well, I think you nailed it. I think Cain Velasquez is arguably the greatest heavyweight of all time. You look at skill-wise, you look at pace, you look at the fact that he works, he evolves. He works, you know, unlike Fedor, where we didn't see the evolution of Fedor's game, where a lot of people argue that we haven't seen that evolution. You constantly see it from Cain Velasquez. He started as a wrestler, constantly improving his kickboxing and boxing abilities, and now heavyweight champion. That's the problem when he took that fight with Junior Dos Santos. When he was injured, lost that fight, lost all the money, and who knows, all it takes is one fight and you could find yourself hanging up the gloves for good.
Yeah, you know, I don't know anything about football, but I seem to understand that these guys don't have very long careers. They get injured, it's a part of the game. You project how long you're going to do it, how much money you're going to make, all of that kind of stuff, and there's an average. You only can play this many years because of the damage on your body. I think Demetrius Johnson will last a lot longer than a Cain Velasquez because of the damage of being a heavyweight. We love the heavyweights. The impact is so huge, so much on the line because every punch can hurt, but these men put themselves through a lot.
It's kind of a catch-22 for people that marvel at how athletic this man is, but then say, you know, he's got to taper down his training. Well, hard to have one without the other. I mean, that's the reality of things. Quickly on Glory here, 3 contracts lapsing here at this point. If you're Glory, I don't think it's crazy to assume that they have spent a ton of money, a pay-per-view that bombed in June. I mean, is this kind of them scaling back at this point and maybe normalizing their salary structure with some of these bigger names leaving?
They have to, because we've seen that, you know, yes, they pay out the money. I was there in New York City when Tyrone Spong and Daniel Guida were on the card. There was nobody there, but you still have to pay Tyrone Spong $200,000+. So financially, it doesn't make money. They have to scale it back, have local fighters on the card in addition to 1 or 2 stars. Right. Don't load the card.
In a lot of businesses, people overspend in the early days, and the fight game is one of those. When you downsize, you got to cut salaries, and it's just what they're doing.
The MMA graveyard, it is littered with many people who thought pay-per-view without television, let's do it. But anyway, Glory with television, still bombing on pay-per-view. We have more Fight News Now Extra, which never bombs on this network.